Hello everyone, and welcome to the next installment in Grandmaster Ronghua Sandwich Host Defense Treatise. As mentioned before, this would be the topic for discussion of Chapter 9, and in the second board, Red would uh, attack with R2 plus 8 to prevent the development of the left black horse. Now in the first board, P5 plus 1 was played, and please do see the previous video if you have not seen it. So by playing R2 plus 8, Red would hamper the development of Black's left flank. Now A4 plus 5 will be played so that Black can retreat his cannon to chase away the Red chariot and allow for development of Black's left flank. In the book, H8 plus 7 was given, and another major line that was given was P7 plus 1, which would demonstrate why this would not be a good idea, because the position shown here would demonstrate why Red should have played the horse before pushing the pawn. Black would not have been able to fortify his defenses, and a trade of cannons, Black would not be able to play C5 plus 4 to capture the Black central pawn at this point, because there would be no check since Black had already consolidated his defense. So that is why H8 plus 7 was given in the book. I ran this position through my computer, and one of the other moves that was suggested was Red playing C8 equals to 6 for the 5-6 cannons. So, but this would be beyond the scope of the video. At this point, Black would chase away the Red chariot, and this would be the position of discussion for this board. There are two variations that were given, two main lines. The first would be R2 minus 1, whereby Red would try to keep pressure on Black's left flank with this move to prevent the Black horse from developing with H8 plus 7. The other move would be to retreat the chariot one more intersection and also threaten the pawn rank. So in the first variation, if Red played R2 minus 1, Black could play the left elephant E7 plus 5. Now it would be different from playing E3 plus 5, because with E7 plus 5, Black would get the extra option of playing H8 plus 6. So one might wonder, would playing the edge horse be a viable option? Now if Black played chose to develop his horse as an edge horse, the central pawn or the central file would become weak. Red will usually play C8 equals to 9 to allow for development of his chariot, and would not have to fear the cannon fork or the cannon skewer, by Black with C6 plus 5. And Red would have an easier time ahead, because both his left horse would now be developed, and Black would still have trouble trying to develop his left flank. So that is why choosing to play the single horse defense or developing the left horse as an edge horse would not be a good idea. So E7 plus 5 to consolidate the central file and also allow for H8 plus 6. Now faced with this threat of the red horse, as of the black horse threatening the red chariot, what could Red do? The first, the suggested move was R2 minus 3. Now it would not be a good idea to try to place pressure on the black horse or on this file, because the cannon and the horse would now be able to try to use there'll be discovered attacks possible. So in the book, oh, black chose to develop his right chariot, and with this move, this would be a discovered attack on the red chariot, forcing the red chariot to retreat. And suddenly, all of black's pieces, especially the ones on his left flank, would now be developed. Now, black can be very dissatisfied with this outcome, and red would have failed in his initial strategy of trying to add pressure on black's left flank. So that is why this move would not be a good move. And if you were to repeat the moves, you will see that red would have moved his chariot too many times, which would go against the basic tenets of Xiangqi opening theory. So R2 minus 3 would be a slightly better move. Black will continue to develop his right chariot. Red would also do the same. And black would try to form a blockade. Now, faced with black forming a blockade on this file, what can red do? There were two options that were given. First would be to push the pawn forward so that red could attempt to move the horse to the riverbank. The other would be to try to add pressure back on the horse again. Now, if red did try to threaten the black horse, black could counter with a cannon skewer, and because the cannon had moved, the black horse would now actually be threatening the red chariot, forcing the red chariot to move. Trade of pieces, and at this point in time, despite all the efforts that red had tried, red would still be unable to capture the black horse, and instead black would be allowed to develop his left flank in this manner. So this would not be very ideal for red in this situation, and as can be seen, the cannon blockade will be applying pressure on red's left flank, while red would still need to have to maneuver some pieces to try to decongest the situation over here. So b6 plus 5 would be advocated. Now it would not be a good idea for black to try to trade chariots, because sacrificing the horse would allow black to retreat his cannon again to capture the red chariot, and red will be forced to trade use one of his chariots to trade for a black horse and a black cannon. And because in this situation, the black cannon had advanced and retreated again, this allowed for red to play r8 plus 7. Now, not only would black's right flank be congested now, the horse would have nowhere else to go, while the remaining, the red's formation would be very stable and powerful. So red would have a huge advantage if this situation could be played out. Okay, back to the main line. If b7 plus 1 were played, black would try to play r9 equals to 7, which would be a very proactive waiting move, whereby black would not be prepared to storm this file. Now, it would not be a good idea to try to trade chariots, because after trading chariots, red will sacrifice his elephant for black's central pawn, and in this situation, as can be seen, both of the black horses would not have moved, and the red cannon, central cannon, was already threatening the black king directly. The other edge cannon could perform the duty or could defend red's territory very nicely. And in horse cannon endgames, perhaps the most important factor would be the mobility of the horses, which red would have a significant advantage over. So overall, this would be to red's advantage. So if r9 equals to 7 were played, red will also adjust its formation to for the cross palace cannons, so that if black pushed the pawn forward. If need be, after a trade-off of material, red could always play e3 plus 5 or e7 plus 5 as needed to fortify his defenses. And at this point in time, we can see that black would have formed a formidable blockade, and red's left flank would now be very congested. Black can be very satisfied with this outcome. So a quick review of the main line. Central cannon, pale corner cannon, and p7 plus 1, which is the topic of discussion, and preventing black from developing his left flank. Okay, black would try to chase or dislodge the red chariot, and in the first variation, r2 minus 1 was given. And black would have formed a blockade. So in the second variation, r2 minus 2 was suggested and was discussed. At this point in time, black would immediately try to develop his left flank by moving the horse. It would not be a good idea to go for a cannon skew at this point in time, because red will counter with a check, trade material, and at this point in time it would be better for black to play move the horse. And at this point in time we can see that both of the red chariots will now be developed, and red would enjoy an obvious advantage. So that is why it would have been better for black to develop his left flank, and red would be better off playing c8 equals to 9 to develop his left chariot. Another possibility of using the red cannon as a riverbank cannon was also discussed. However, at this point in time, although the red cannon was still a force to be reckoned with, suddenly there will not be any specific targets for the red cannon to attack, and it would not be able to cause any more mischief at this point in time. Therefore, black can be very satisfied with this outcome. So c8 equals to 9 to develop the left cannon as an edge cannon was suggested. And this would be a move that would show that black would choose a steadfast approach to the game. c2 plus 5 would be a more proactive counter, but at this point in time, red will be slightly better. Now, the main reason is because red would have managed to develop his left horse and also threatened to play p7 plus 1 to gain material. And while the black horse had already crossed the river, there was not much that it can do for the moment. So red would be slightly better off in this situation. p7 plus 1, and black would choose to consolidate his defenses with this move. It would not be a good idea to charge the black horse to the riverbank, because red had already played p7 plus 1, thus denying black the option of playing h6 plus 4. And the black horse would be forced to this side of the board. And at this point in time, not only would black have failed at creating a blockade, the black horse would also be in trouble, because red would now be prepared to play p7 plus 1 to sacrifice his pawn and capture the black pawn, while threatening to capture the black horse. In the process of doing so, black would be placed in a predicament. Hence, it would not be a good idea at this point in time to push the black horse to the riverbank, no matter how much this point might be in this intersection might be worth in the game. So if black chose to consolidate his defenses, red would choose to after black had consolidated his defenses, it would be the correct time to play h7 plus 6. Red would not dare to play r2 equals to 4 because it would be a roughly even situation. If the red chariot chose to capture the black horse, black would simply charge his pawn across the river, and no matter where the chariot will move, the black pawn would play p7 plus 1 again, and lost material would be recaptured, and black can be very satisfied with this outcome. Hence, it would be better off for red to retreat his chariot, and the situation would be roughly equal at this point in time. So a quick recap of the second variation. And instead of playing r2 minus 1 as was shown in the first variation, r2 minus 2 was played. And again, the major issue of development of the black pieces on black's left flank would be a major issue for black. Sorry, c8 equals to 9. And this would be a steadfast approach to the game. And black would be satisfied with this situation. So a short recap. In this board, how is it? Black would choose to play p7 plus 1, and red would try to halt or slow the development of black's left flank. But it would seem that black would still be able to counter red's aggressions with using the cannon as the main piece by playing the advisor and retreating the cannon. And perhaps one of the biggest flaws for red's attack would be the fact that he would have moved this chariot too many times so early in the game, and this could easily result in a loss of tempo for the red pieces. So I hope you have enjoyed this short video. I'll be trying to make more commentaries on the videos that I've translated so that I can do more concise explanations of the various positions. Thank you, and if you like the work that I've done, please subscribe to my channel. Have a nice day.